to the Atlantic Coast Conference, where I didn't have a long list of headliners, but buddy, there's a big one, or maybe even a couple big ones right at the top, because Bill Belichick, after leading a team that had one of the worst offenses in all of the power conference, and really outside of the top 100 or 110 in the country, you need somebody who's just going to go and almost guarantee points. We talked about Arkansas scoring on Texas's defense earlier. That's because they had Bobby Petrino as the offensive coordinator. Bobby P coming in as the new offensive coordinator at North Carolina. Got Chad Morris taking over at Clemson. And then we mentioned the Brent Pry move earlier. Tom, which one of these sort of, or another one, if I missed one, which one stands out to you?
Going back to the Chad Morris, we've talked about Dabo and everything that's been going on at Clemson these last few years, and it's just how it feels like the game is, the game is passing him by, like the way that the sport is working, and Dabo is trying to rely on just doing what he's always done, and he's been very recalcitrant and stubborn about adapting to the way things work. And then you start to see Clemson kind of begin that process, start using the transfer portal more to bring in guys to fill holes. But then you immediately follow that up by bringing back in Chad Morris, who was, when he was at Clemson the first time as the offensive coordinator, pretty damn successful. He was one of the first $1 million coordinators that we talked about at the time. And he has left and has not had nearly the same level of success at other stops, whether as a head coach or a coordinator since. So now that he's coming back to Clemson, can they rekindle that relationship and get going with the magic that they had before? Or is this just going to be another situation where Clemson's still trying to hit that square peg into the round hole for 12 games?
Go ahead, Bud.
No, I just, does Chad Morris feel like fresh ideas?
No.
So listen, this is a funny one. I thought about this. I am not calling Dabo Swinney Nick Saban. Okay. I am not calling Dabo Swinney Nick Saban, but getting the band back together was what Nick Saban did right before he hung it up.
Mm-hmm.
You just I just need to get people in here who know what I want to do. Right. However, have you heard Chad Morris describe how the hire went down?
No.
Okay. So as Chad tells it, Dabo called him to say, hey, I want to pick your brain about offensive coordinator options and offensive coordinator hires. And near the beginning of the phone conversation, Chad says, well, your list should be one name, and it's me. And Dabo at first was like, you wasn't even thinking about it as an option. Chad says they talked for about an hour. And then Dabo at the end is like, well, I forgot whether I apologize, Chad. I know you're a huge Cover 3 podcast fan, but his wife's name, because he's telling the story, he's mentioned Dabo, he's mentioning Kathleen, Dabo's wife. And he says, put your wife on the phone. Is she okay with you, getting back into working? And she says, we would crawl back to Clemson. So there is while I made that first reference to the Nick Saban piece, there is a whole Chad Morris wanted this job bad. Chad Morris kind of willed himself into this job. So if there is a thought about how bad Chad Morris wants to be at Clemson and wants to work to try to help them turn this thing around offensively, there certainly seems to be a lot of motivation for this to not just be a show up and cash the check. He could be on the beach. Yeah, I think the way that he told the story was like we were on the beach in Destin talking to Dabo on the phone, this, that, or the other. He could have easily been retired. That Arkansas buyout money is sweet. He got fired before the end of his second season. You know how much buyout money that is? Like he could be fine, but he wants it bad. The question is, when it comes to impact, does Clemson have an offense that scares anybody?
They have some receivers. I think so much of this really depends on Vizina.
Yeah, 100%.
Is Vizina a guy that we don't know about? I don't mean like a person we don't know about, but is he a guy? Is he a dude that all of a sudden that Clemson saw enough in practice that they did not decide to go out and get a portal guy.
And can they run the football again?
They have any actual running backs on the roster this year?
Yeah. I mean, we can't Adam Randall this thing anymore. Like, we need one of those young pups to step up. They have been recruiting at a top fit, like somewhere in that, 10 to 15 level consistently. We just lost a whole bunch of former 4-star and 5-stars that everybody thought when they had 9 first-round draft picks on all the mock drafts going into the year. All those guys are gone. Now it's time for some young kiddies to step up and become big Tigers with the Roar this year. That it's very tough for me to think that Clemson it's very tough for me to think Clemson's a top 5 team in the ACC. And that is going to be a little jarring going into the year, but they got to go out there and prove it because there's a lot of unproven around that program, in my opinion.
You want to get Chad Morris story?
Yes, of course.
So this had to be like 2019 at one of these like Nike Coach of the Year clinics, which are pretty fun to go to be honest. Like I feel like I learn a lot.
Agreed.
So he's talking about when he first got to, where did he come from before Arkansas? Was it
SMU?
SMU.
Right. Okay. So I think it's when he first got to SMU, but it might have been when he first got to Arkansas. And he was like, man, this was like so disorganized. Like, holy cow. Like, we have so much work to do. And they were trying to inspire some confidence in these guys. It's like, hey, look, we got to find like something we can kind of like hang our hat on and celebrate every day. Like find some accomplishment for every day. He's like, all right, our first one is going to be everybody's helmet is facing the same way during stretch period. All right. Like, we had to work on this thing all week, really, until finally one day the strength coach gives me the thumbs like, Coach, we got it. Everybody got their helmet facing the same direction and stretch so we can be as one as a team. I was like, that's wow.
I thought you were going to say tying your shoes, but that ain't far from it. Man. In terms of like everybody, we're going to face the east end zone when we're stretching. Everybody's helmet going in the same direction.
Yeah.
And it's corny, but I get it.
Yeah, I know.
It's stuck and it's like, wow. I'm not trying to remember what program it was. It might have been SMU, but he was like, guys, we were a mess.
I do think SMU was a little bit of a mess when he took it over. But I mean, Arkansas. Because Arkansas was post Bielema, right?
Yes.
Around then? I don't know. But it's still a great story.
Arkansas was post Bielema?
I believe.
So hold on, let's reverse engineer this. So Morris was there for 2 years and got fired, right? So he was there 18, 19, and then out. Who was Arkansas's coach in 20?
Pittman.
Yeah, it wasn't Bielema.
Right, It was Pittman. Yeah, because Bielema first. When did Bielema get to Illinois?
3 years ago. So yeah, it was.
And he went from Arkansas to the Patriots, right?
Correct.
Okay, yeah, because it was Pittman. You're right.
Danny, what do we think about Bobby P?
Speaking of Arkansas,
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Arkansas.
I can't wait. I have no idea if it's going to work, but I do think he is a great offensive mind. I wish he could bring Taylon Green with him, because that's my big question mark: is who the heck is he going to be working with?
I think Billy Edwards is an upgrade on Gio Lopez.
Yes, I do agree with that. But the personalities with him and Belichick feels like it could be combustible, but they can't get much worse offensively. I think it's a pretty good hire.
Do Bill and Jordan show up to the first day of camp in like a bike and a sidecar?
Maybe.
She'll wear a neck brace for sure. I mean, she's the troll of all trolls.
Yes, exactly.
She is going to troll him.
Climbing the power rankings. No, I think, like, listen, say all the stuff you want to say about Bobby off the field and the problems that he had while at Arkansas, but I don't think you can argue that North Carolina hasn't made a tremendous upgrade at offensive coordinator, going from Freddie Kitchens to Bobby Petrino. Like,
undeniably.
Yeah, wherever Petrino has been, it's hard to find a year where the offense sucked. So I definitely think the North Carolina offense is going to improve. And I do think that North Carolina overall will improve because of it. Although, again, yeah, like Danny mentioned, the quarterback is going to be a key thing. Billy Edwards was pretty good for Maryland a few years ago. Never really had a chance at Wisconsin last year because of the injury, so we haven't seen him in a while. But depending on how healthy he stays, I don't think he's going to be like an all ACC candidate, but I think he's good enough to actually keep that offense on schedule and make the plays that Bobby Petrino is going to ask of him.
They also added the wide receiver that Tom you sent me a note that you liked from Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got a little bit of compatibility there.
Very good vertical threat for you.
they re-signed Damon June, who I thought was at times kind of a nice piece at the running back position, and Jordan Shipp as well. I mean, look, they lost like 29 players to the portal, brought in 28 players in the portal, signed a 40-player freshman class. I mean, it is, from a roster perspective, it is year one, part two. They're just starting from scratch all over again. But I think they are starting from scratch with a better quarterback and a better offensive coordinator. So you at least are not going to be so hamstrung offensively. We'll just see how the rest of whether we get everyone's favorite complimentary football playing out in Chapel Hill against the schedule, which, by the way, is a lot tougher than it was last year.
I still think they're going to, like, even with the schedule strength increase, I think they're a pretty good chance to exceed what they did last year win total wise.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, we thought it was like 7-5, 8-4. They finished 4-8.
Right. Yeah.
So, if we can level set those things, then perhaps we get there. One last one from the ACC. I think Brent Pry as defensive coordinator for James Franklin's a great hire. Awkward. Great hire.
As long as he can get past it.
The most awkward thing will be how many times does Brent Pry accidentally walk into James Franklin's office thinking it's his? Oh, whoops, I'm down the hall now.